Okay, so let's get started. This is Professor Terry Clark. Welcome to our go-to training on assignment 1. I would like to thank everybody for joining us. The purpose behind this go-to training is to kind of answer all of your questions and to provide some direction and guidance on assignment 1. Okay, so the first thing you want to do with the assignment 1 is to kind of look at the dashboard, and hopefully everybody can see my dashboard. Our dashboard is a little different, so I kind of go in here and I see that in my class one person's already submitted the assignment. The assignment has a 10% weight. That means it's 10% of your grade. Okay, and it's due on August 11th. So that's what I'm looking at when I pull the dashboard open. Now the next thing I'm going to do is just kind of look at the resources that are made available. I don't have a student view, so what I do is I have to go into edit view to look at everything. Now in edit view, I'm going to see two files. One of them's going to be movie, and the other one's going to be music. Okay, so depending on which assignment you choose, if you want to do a movie set, then you'll choose movie, August movie. If you want to do a music set, then you'll choose August movie music zip. Okay, so I'm just going to click on the zip and open it up. It's going to have a lot of important information in it when I pull it up. Okay, the first place I want to go and look at is the rubric. Okay, because the rubric is going to tell me how I'm getting graded. Okay, and it's going to give me some guidance as far as the work that I need to do. Okay, because if there are points being awarded to something, then obviously you can, if there's points being awarded, then obviously then there's work to be done toward it. All right, so I'm gonna pull the rubrics. Okay, now when I look at the rubrics, it's got sections. It's got section 1, section 2, section 3, and section 4. Okay, so with these 4 sections, that means that I'm getting graded on 4 things. Okay, at section 1, it says section 1, 2D blueprint is worth 9 points. So doing the 2D blueprint is going to be 9 points of your grade. That means that you're actually going to use a program, maybe like homebuilders.com, to put together a layout, and it's going to be 2-dimensional. So that means you won't have like walls. It won't be 3-dimensional. Okay. Under that assignment, you got 4 things that needs to be done. You got to have, for 1, you got to have walls, windows, doors. For 2, you're going to have measurements. That means that all your walls, windows, and doors have to have measurements to them, either in customary or metric. And then the blueprint needs to be professional appearance. That means you can't hand draw it. You've got to use a program to put it together. And then 4th, the rooms have to be proportional. They don't have to be exact, but they do have to be proportional. If one room is said to be larger than another room, okay, on the worksheet, then it needs to be larger on your blueprint as well. Okay, so those are the 4 things that you need to have in order to earn all 9 points in the blueprint section. Okay, after the blueprint, you're going to have section 2, which is the changing of dimensions. Okay, and that'll be on the worksheet. Okay, so you'll go look at the worksheet, and then from there you'll change your dimensions there. After the changing of the dimensions, you're going to go to section 3, and then that's going to be surface area. With the surface area, okay, that'll be another part of the worksheet that you'll need to complete. Okay, and in the last section is going to be budget analysis, and we'll see all that stuff on the worksheet. It's going to kind of lay out how many points you'll earn for showing your work and not showing your work, versus getting the problems correct. So even if you don't get the problem correct, you want to show your work, okay, because you'll earn half of the points just by showing your work, as long as your work is correct. Okay, so Rick's saying the change of the dimensions will be reflected in the final blueprint, so we will not be submitting. No, you'll only submit one blueprint. You don't have to make changes to the blueprint. Okay, you'll use the original dimensions. Okay, you don't have to go and change anything. So you'll only have one blueprint. Okay, there's some programs you can use. Like I want to say there's a program called Home Builders. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let's see. Let's go under teaching, um, education tools. Uh, uh, let's see. And let me see if I can pull one over here for us. Let's say Home Builders. I think it's Home Builders. Home Styler. Okay, so here's one that you can use. It's called homestylers.com. So homestylers.com, it will allow you to design a 2D or a 3D. Okay, and so you can use this program right here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put the web address in here for you guys to look at. Now there are some other ones you can look at to use. Okay, but this is just one. Home Stylers is one you can use. I want to say there's another one. There may be one in the directions too. So let me look at that as well, and then we'll see what comes up there. Okay, but this is the rubric and how it's laid out. Now, after the rubric, where's the rest of it at? We want to look at the directions. Okay, so here's the directions right here. Okay, inside the directions, it's telling you, what you're going to be doing, and this is for the music studio, the learning objectives. And the learning objectives is basically the math you're going to need in order to complete the assignments. Okay, decimals, fractions, percents, integers, and measurements in geometry. Okay, here we'll see, in section one, the things that you're required to work with. It's giving you more detail as far as your blueprint. Okay, and then you'll need to upload that blueprint. You can also copy and paste it the right onto the worksheet. Okay. In section one, it's going to give you the dimensions for the rooms. In section two, it's going to basically talk about how you make the dimension changes and what conversions we use. Okay, somebody is asking a question. It says the format in JPG or Adobe. It doesn't matter. Um, Either one. Okay, as long as it's one that came with your Mac that we can open. Okay, so for the spreadsheet, I'm trying to see if they provided more information. We'll look at that next because it's going to kind of just give you a breakdown of everything that we'll need to do. Okay, now the dimensions are right here in the assignment itself. You'll use those dimensions when you're working on the spreadsheet. Okay, and here's our spreadsheet right here. Okay, so this spreadsheet right here is what you're going to need to fill out. Okay, so this is like the dimension changes. Okay, you'll need to change those from like original, and then I want you to increase it 24%. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can increase it. I want to show you how to do the increase and the decrease, just so that you'll have some insight as to what's expected. Okay, let's look and see. Launchpad. I'm trying to go to. I need sketch. Somewhere on here it is. Mhm. Okay, let's see. Let's see dashboard contract. Somewhere in here is the drawer keynote. Ooh. Okay. Let me look at another place. I'm supposed to have Sketcher in here. Let me see. So let me see. All right, so let's see here. I got to pull up the application section. Um, full cell. Let's see. Hmm. Let's see. Sketchpad. I'm trying to find something that I can use to write with. I thought I had Sketchpad in here. Keynotes. Nope. Okay, give me just a second. All right, we're gonna go to Sketch. Let's see. Somewhere in here. That's amazing. I think it's called Sketcher. Sketcher. You know, oh. You know what? Let me do this. Let me just pull up a Word document and do it that way. It's amazing. You know, I had it one time, but. All right, so let's pull up something here. We'll have to work with this on it. All right, so here we go. Okay, so one of the questions talked about um, converting feet. We'll take 15 feet and then we'll convert that. So we're going to take 15 feet and then we're going to convert it to, we're going to increase it by 24%. So in order to increase it by 24%, we're going to have to multiply it. We're going to convert the percentage to a decimal. Now you can do that one or two ways. You can go 15 times 1.24, or we can go 15 times 0.24, and then we can add that to 15. So we can do it this way. We can take that and do it. So we can do it either way. The quickest way of doing it is just to take the 15 and multiply it by the 1.24. Okay. So when we do that, let me pull up a calculator just to make it quicker. Okay, so we're going to take 15 and multiply it by 1.24. And that's going to give us 18.6. Okay. 18.6 is not feet in inches. That's just 18.6 feet. So that's what our answer is, 18.6 feet. But the directions told us that they didn't want us to have like a portion or a part of feet, that we needed to convert the portion of part of feet to inches. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take 0.6 feet and multiply it by 12, because 12 is our conversion rate to go from feet to inches. So right now we know we have 18 feet. And then to figure out the inches, we're going to go 0.6 times 12. So we're going to always multiply the decimal. And then that's going to give us 7.2. Okay, 7.2 inches. So our final answer is going to be 18 feet and 7 inches. Okay, so that's our answer, 18 feet and 7 inches. Okay, so that's what we have to do to convert from feet to inches. Now, if you don't make that conversion, then what'll happen is most of your answers will be off by, a tenth, but nonetheless, they'll still be wrong. Okay, so we want to make sure we're doing that. I'm going to do one more of these just so everybody's got the hang of it. Okay, so let me take this off because you could do it either way, but I'm going to take uh, 12 feet, and I'm going to convert that. I'm going to increase that by 1.24. Okay, so I'm going to take 12 and multiply by 1.24. And then that's going to give me 14.8 feet. Now that's 14.88 feet. Okay, that's not 14 feet and 8 inches. Okay, so I got 14 feet. Now I got to convert the 0.88 inches, 0.88 feet into inches. So it's going to be 12 times that. So it's going to be 12 times 0.88. So that's going to give me 10.56 inches. And then the inches I'll round to the nearest whole inch. So 10.5 will get rounded to 11. So my final answer is going to be 14 feet and 11 inches. Okay. All right. So what I want to do is I want to give you guys one and see if you guys can come up with the right answer. And then we'll talk about it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys 17 feet. And I'm going to ask you guys to increase that by 24%. And then once you come up with the answer, go ahead and type it into the chat box. Okay. And remember, our answer shouldn't have any decimals in it. It should have feet and inches. Okay, so thank everyone who's already responded. Looking for a few more responses. Okay, 21 feet and 1 inch seems to be the common theme. Okay, so our first step is to take 17 and multiply it by 1.24. So we're going to take 17 multiplied by 1.24. And it's going to give us 21.08. Okay, so that means that we're going to have 21 feet for sure. Then we're going to take the 0.08 and multiply it by 12 because 12 is the conversion rate for feet into inches. So we're going to say 0.08 times 12. And that's going to give us 0.96. Now 0.96 is close to 1 inch. So that's going to be 1 inch. So our final answer is going to be 21 feet and 1 inch. So congratulations to everyone that came up with 21 feet and 1 inch. Okay, so at this point, If anyone has a question about what we did or how we did it, or you're not quite understanding about the rounding or anything, let's talk about it. If you want to increase it by 50%, you could take 17 feet and multiply it by 1.5, because 50% is, you know, 0.5. You simply take the decimal, move it 2 places to the left to convert it to a decimal. Then you add the 1 in front of it. Okay, so that's going to be for the feet. Now let's look at the meters. Let's say, right, but you still have to add 1 in front of it. So if you got 0.24, you add a 1 in front of it and it gives you 1.24. Because that keeps, the 1 represents the 17 feet. 1 times 17 is 17. Okay. So like say for instance, if you're increasing something by 32%, okay, well you still got the 1. Okay. Okay. And so if you go 1.32, that'll give you the whole number that you started with as well. All right, so let's look at the meters, okay, because we've got to convert those too. Okay, now the meters are saying that we got to round those to the nearest hundred. So let's take 7.62, 7.63, and then we're going to increase that by 1.24 as well, or 24%. And then we got to round it to the nearest hundred place. So we're going to take 7.63, multiply that, let me change that, 7.63, multiply by 1.24, and then that's going to give us 9.4612. 0.4612. Now that's got to be rounded to the nearest hundred place. So the 6 is in the hundreds place. And I'm going to change that to red so we can see it better. Okay, so we can see the 6 is in the hundred place. Okay, so that number is either going to go up or stay the same. And what we'll do is we'll look at the number behind it. Okay, in this case, we're going to look at the 1. Okay, if that number is 4 or less, it stays the same. If it is 5 or more, it goes up. Okay, so in this case, it's going to stay the same. So it's going to become 9.46. And then we got to make sure we put meters there. Okay, using the right conversion rate is very important. Okay, so that's going to be 9.46 meters because the question talked about meters. Make sure you use the right conversions or units of conversions, because if you don't use the right unit measurement, then the answer will not be correct as well. So we got to make sure that if we're talking about meters, we're going to put meters. If we're talking about inches and feet, we're going to put inches and feet. Okay. All right, so that's that. Next, let me give you guys one to do. So let's take 8.32, and you guys increase that by 24%. Okay, so we're seeing a lot of 10.32 meters. Okay, make sure you put meters at the end of it, or you can just put M, but you want to make sure you get into practice of using the right unit of measurement. Okay, so that 8.32 meters is going to get multiplied by 1.24, and then that's going to give us 8.32 times 1.24, And then that's going to give us 10.3168. And then we got to round that to the nearest hundred place. So the 1 is in the hundredth place. I'm going to go ahead and put that in red so we can see it. And then that's got to be rounded either up or it's going to stay the same. In this case, because 6 is 5 or more, this gets rounded up to 10.32 meters. Okay. Okay, and so we want to make sure that we put the meters at the end of it, or an M, because if you don't put meters or M at the end of it, it will get marked wrong. Okay. Okay, so that's the end of the increases by 24%. Okay, that one was kind of cut and dry. The other one we're going to look at is going to be the decrease of 1/3. Okay, now we can do this one one or two ways. I'm going to show you both ways. I'm going to show you how to set it up both ways. But in the end, Joshua, you have to use both because they're like there are three problems for the customary with the feet, and then there are three problems with the metric with the meters. So you got to fill in both sections. Okay. Now, when you get to the surface area, you can choose either feet or meters. Okay, but for the dimension change, you've got to do both because they're providing you with different questions for both. Okay, but when you get to the next section, you'll be able to choose one or the other. A lot of people end up choosing the meters because it's easier work. Okay, so let's say we're going to convert, we'll say 10 feet, and we want to decrease that by 2/3. Okay, so we can decrease that by 2/3 two ways. We can either, if we're talking about decreasing it by 2/3, what we could do is we could take 1 and minus it 1/3 from it, like that, which is going to end up giving us 10 times 2/3. So we can do it that way. Or another way we can do it is we can take 10 and then we can minus uh, 10 times 1/3 like this. Okay, so we could do it either way. Okay, so if we went 10 times 2/3, you know, that was going to become 20 over 3. 20 over 3. And then we would take the 20 over 3 and divide it because every fraction is also a decimal. Okay, and that's going to give us 6.67. Okay. Okay, if we did it that way. Now, if we did it the other way here, we're going to have 10 feet. And then we're going to multiply it by 1/3, which is going to give us 1/3 of that is going to be 3.3. Like that. And then you subtract that, that's still going to give you 6.67. Okay. Okay. So you can decrease it either way. And then, of course, we're still not finished because that's 6.67 feet. And we've got to convert the feet to the portion or part of a feet to inches. Okay. Yeah, these are the decreases. We're decreasing by 1/3. Okay. Now notice, regardless to how I decrease, there's subtraction involved in both of these problems. Okay, so you can't get around the subtraction. Okay. Now, from here, we're going to just go ahead and convert we'll end up with 6 feet. And then we're going to take the 0.67 and multiply it by 12. And then that's going to give us 8.04. So in the end, you got 6 feet and 8 inches. Okay. All right. Now I want to do one. I've shown you both ways, but I'm going to do one my favorite way. And then, simply because it's just quicker. Okay, so I'm going to take 15 feet And I'm going to always multiply by 2/3. Now, I showed you how I came up with the 2/3. I took the 1 minus the 1/3. That gave me 2/3. So that's how I came up with the 2/3. Okay. So, but I'm going to always use 2/3 to decrease by 1/3. Okay. So every time I see a decrease of 1/3, I'm simply going to take my number and multiply it by 2/3. And then that's going to be my answer. So I'm going to say 15 times 2 will give me 30. And then that's going to be 30 over 3. And then that will equal 10. So my final answer is going to be 10 feet. Okay. I simply multiply the top numbers together because 15 is also 15 over 1. So we just go 15 times 1 is 15 times 2 is 30, and 1 times 3 is 3. Okay, so that's the way we do it. 15 times 2 is 30, and 1 times 3 is 3. And then we got 30 divided by 3, and that gives us 10. Okay, so that's the quicker way of doing it. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys one to do. So we're going to take 21, and I want you guys to decrease 21 by 1/3. Okay, now you should come up with a nice whole number on this one. Okay, because I just want you to get the decreasing part down first. Okay, a lot of people coming up with 14 feet. Okay, if you're coming up with 14 feet, make sure you use the word feet or the feet symbol. Okay, that one apostrophe to denote that you're talking about feet. Don't just put the word 14 there, the number 14, because that'll get marked wrong. In math, we're very strict for rules. You know, I can tell you unequivocally that all of my colleagues will mark it wrong. We're rule driven. Okay, so let's see. We don't have any more responses. From here, we're going to go ahead and look at our answer. Okay, how many people multiplied it by 2/3? Okay, great. Okay, and that'll always work if you multiply it by 2/3. Now, you know, you can multiply 21 by 1/3 and then subtract that number from 21. It's not the either way will work. So, you know, you know, a lot of times when we doing math, you got 3 and 4 ways that'll work. Sometimes we just look to find the fastest and the best way to do it. So here we're gonna say that 21, we can put that over 1, and then that's just gonna become 21 times 2 is gonna be 40. It's gonna be 42. And then 42 divided by 3 will equal 14. And that's gonna be 18 feet. Okay, so congrats to everyone that came up with 14 feet. Now we got to do the meters. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna have 12.35, and we're gonna decrease it by 2/3. Okay, so the way we do that is we take the 12.35, multiply it by 2, and that gives us 24.7. Then we divide that by 3. And that gives us 8.23333. Okay, now that's got to still get rounded to the nearest hundredth place. So that's where that rounding is going to take place at, right there. And so our final answer is going to be 8.23, 8.23 meters. I just put an M there to save space. All right, so that's going to leave us with 8.23 meters. Okay, now we want to make sure that when we're working with the metric, that one, we're rounding to the nearest hundred place, and that two, we're putting our unit of measurement, which is going to be meters in this case. If you just put 8.23, it would definitely get marked wrong. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys one to do for practice. And I want you guys to take 17.65, and I want you to decrease it by 2/3. Yeah, did I say decrease it by, I'm sorry, decrease it by 1/3. Yeah, I do apologize. I meant 1/3. Okay. So we're decreasing it by 1/3. In order to do that, we've got to multiply it by 2/3. Okay. So we're going to multiply that by 2/3. Okay, that's how we're going to decrease it by 1/3. And the reason why we're coming up with the 2/3 is because we're saying 100% minus 1/3 gives you 2/3. So we take 1 minus 1/3, we come up with 2/3. So that's the reason why we're coming up with 2/3. If it was like 1/5, we would say 1 minus 1/5, which would leave us with 4/5. Okay. Remember what we said about decreasing. When we're decreasing, subtraction is going to be involved somewhere in the process. Okay, whether it's with the fraction or percent, or whether it's with the number or your answer at the end. Okay, so we got 17.65, and then we're going to multiply that by 2. That's going to give us 35.3. And then we're going to divide that by 3. And then that's going to give us 11.76. Okay, now that 11.766666 like that, we're going to look at the hundred place, which is right here. Okay, and so we're going to round to that place value. Okay, the number following that 6 is 6, so 6 is 5 or larger. So our final answer is going to be 11.77 meters. I'm just going to put it all on the next line because I don't want to break it down like that. 11.77 meters. Okay, so congratulations with everybody that came up with 11.77 meters. Okay, now remember we're rounding to the nearest hundred place. Okay, that's what the directions told us. So we have to make sure that we're getting it there to the nearest hundreds place. Okay. All right. So does anybody have any questions about, increasing by 24% or decreasing by 1/3? Okay. Any questions? Okay. Now, if you have a question, this is the time to ask. Yeah, Paula, I'm recording the session. What I'll do is when I finish recording it, I'll upload it, and then either I'll end up putting it on YouTube, or there'll be a link that'll be shared through GoToTraining, depending on how big the file is. But that's a good question. Right, Joe. To decrease by 1/3 means you multiply by 2/3. Sure, that's what I'm here for. Okay, so if you want to decrease something by 1/3, if we're talking about decrease by 1/3, remember there's always got to be subtraction involved. So to decrease by 1/3, the way we do that is we take 1 and subtract 1/3 from it. And when we subtract 1 from 1/3, 1 can be converted to a fraction by putting it as 3/3 minus 1/3. And then that leaves us with 2/3. Okay, so that's how we come up with it. Let's say if we were going to decrease it by, let's say we're going to decrease it by 1/7. So in order to do 1/7, we're going to take 1 and we're going to minus 1/7 from it. And then of course we can convert 1 to a fraction by putting it as 7/7. Because 7 divided by 7 is 1 minus 1/7. And then that'll equal 6/7. Okay. Okay, so that's how we do the decrease. Okay, but you're gonna have to subtract somewhere in the process. Okay, and multiplication is going to be involved in the process as well. Okay, okay, so that's either way. Now, as Paula stated, I am recording this session. So what I'll do is I'll send out a copy of the recording to everyone that signed up for the session. So you can always go back and play back through it and look at the examples more than once. All right, so we'll clean this up. And then we're going to move on to the next section. Okay, the next section deals with surface area. Okay, so they're giving us feet and meters. Now we can look at the feet first. We're going to have to look at the directions that are involved because they're telling us that there's doors and windows involved in these problems. Okay, so they're saying that the windows are going to be 5 by 3 feet. So I'm going to put that down. A window can be 5 by 3 feet. Window. And a door can be 7 by 3 feet. And so that we got doors of 7 by 3 feet for doors. Okay, so now let's say if we got a room and the room is 20 feet by, we'll say 20 feet in height, and a width of 12 feet. Okay, so we got a room that's 20 feet in height and a width of 12 feet. Now to find the area for that room, we've got to multiply. And then that's going to give us square footage. Anytime you find area, it's always going to be square feet. So we got to make sure we put that square footage there. So we're going to go 20 times 12, and then that's going to give us 240 square feet for the room. So you can go SQFT, and then that'll be the room for you. So we just say 20 times 12 is 240. Okay. Now from there, what if this room had a door or a window? If it had a door or window, we would have to subtract the window or the door out of the wall because the window or the door is not part of the wall. So we have to take that out. So let's say this room had, we're going to say this room had, but the room had 2 windows and 1 door. Okay, so you can't count the window and the doors as wall. Okay, because that's not part of the wall. So we got to subtract that out. Okay, so we had 2 windows. Now each window is 5 by 3, which is going to be 15. Okay, but we've got 2 windows, so we can't just say 15 square feet. We got to go 15 times 2, which is going to give us 30 square feet. So we're going to have 30 square feet of window. And we had one door. So the door is going to be 7 by 3. So that's going to be 21 square feet of door. Okay. So now what we got to do is we're going to take the 240. We're going to subtract out the 30 and the 21. And then that's going to give us our number. 240 minus 30 minus 21. That's going to give us, so that's going to be 189 square feet for the wall. Okay. So we got 189 square feet for the wall. Well, it is, but they're wanting the area of the wall, not the door and the window. Like, say, for instance, if you were going to paint a wall, you wouldn't paint the window and you wouldn't paint the door. Okay. If you were going to put something up on the wall, you would subtract out the window and the door. Okay. So we're just talking about the walls area here. You know, painters do it all the time when they got a room and the room's got windows and doors. You got to subtract out the windows and the doors so that you don't buy too much paint because you're not going to paint those areas. Okay. So in the end, our final answer is going to be 189 square feet of wall. Okay. And that's the same way with the floor. I mean, if you had a floor, you know, that wouldn't matter. Okay. But I mean, if you had a floor, you know, you might have other things on the floor that might prevent you from carpeting a specific area that you would have to subtract out. But right here on this, we're just focusing in on the walls, the windows. Because remember what it's saying, if you look at the directions, the underlying section says surface area of the wall, doors, wall does not include the area of the windows and or the doors. Okay, and it says remember the area of the windows and or doors must be subtracted from the area of the walls to get the surface area of the wall. Okay. All right. So that's how we do that. Now, let's say we had let's say we have meters. All right. So for the windows, the meters are going to be 1.52 times 0.91. Okay. And then we've got the doors, 2.13. And 0.91. But they just all seem to have that same 0.91. Okay. And those are all meters. All right, so that's the windows and the doors. So let's say we have a room that's 6.47 meters by, we'll say 3.82 meters. Okay, so that's the walls. Okay, so the first thing we got to do is figure out the square meter of the wall. So we're going to go 6.47 times 3.82. And that's going to equal 24.7154. Okay, so that's what the meters of the wall is. Now I'm going to put SQM here. Okay, I'm going to put SQM. Okay, and that just stands for square meters. Okay, you can type in the whole square meters if you want to. That's optional. You don't have to. Let's say, for instance, this is for the wall. Let's say we've got one window and one door. So we have a wall, but with one window and one door. Okay. So what we got to do is we got to now figure out what the window is. So that's the wall. So we're going to take 1.52 and multiply by 0.91. And that's going to give us 1.3832 for the square meters of the window. And don't worry, we're going to round all this stuff too. And then we're going to take 2.13 times 0.91. And then that's going to give us 1.9383 square meters for the door. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to round. Let me go ahead and put the places. We're going to round to the nearest hundred place all the time. So you got a lot of practice rounding here. Okay. So from here, we're going to go ahead and we'll take the 24.72. We're going to subtract the 1.38. And then we're going to subtract the 1.94. So we got 24.72. And then that's going to give us 21.4 square meters. Okay. Okay, so that's our final answer, 21.4 square meters of surface area for the wall. Somebody has their hand up. Lionel, you have a question? Yeah, the rounding, you got to round to the nearest hundred place. So that's always going to be the second number behind the decimal. Okay, if you look at the numbers that I put in red, it's always the second number behind the decimal. Okay, if the number is 5 or higher, the 1 goes up to 2. If the number is 5 or higher for the next one, the 8 goes up to 9. Okay, so if it's 5 or higher, it goes up. If it's 4 or less, it stays the same. Okay, so if it's 4 or less, it stays the same. If it's 5 or higher, it goes up. Well, you're rounding to the nearest 10th place. Okay, you can't round it to the nearest 10th place. If you got 1.38, 1.38, the number that's in the 100th place is the 8. Okay, so with your number, let's put that down. 1.3832. And we're going to round to the nearest 100th place. Okay, that's where the 8 is. Right, because it's the 100th place. Okay, the 3 is in the 10th place. Well, because that's the dimension for the doors and the windows. Okay, they provided that information to us. If we look in the yellow box where the directions are, right before those calculations, it tells us that the meters is 0.91 for the doors and for the windows. It gives us, it says the windows is 5 feet by 3 feet or 1.52 meters by 0.91 meters. Okay, and that's all in the directions right above the work. Okay, okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna provide you guys with a problem. Okay, and I'm gonna give you all the information you need. Okay, I'm gonna give you. You're gonna have a wall with 13 feet by 10 feet, and you're gonna have two doors, which are gonna be 3 feet by 6 feet, and you're gonna have one window, which is gonna be 7 feet by we'll say 2 feet. No, but I make that, yep, 2 feet. Excuse me. Okay, so I need you guys to find the surface area of the wall. Okay. Okay, now remember you guys subtract out the doors and the window. Okay, so we got a lot of 80 square feet. Okay, make sure you put that SQFT there because if you don't, it's going to get bought wrong. Okay, you got to have the unit measurement in there. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is we're going to take, like, if you have any questions about it, you can always use labels. So we're going to take the walls, we're going to minus the two doors, and we're going to subtract out the one window. So that's the way that's going to work. Okay, so we've got the wall is going to be 13 feet by 10 feet. And then the two doors is going to be 2 times the 3 feet by 6 feet. Okay, and then the one window is going to be 7 feet by 2 feet. Okay, so notice how we're doing that. You know, see, I'm going to stretch it out so you can see, put everything right up under where it should be at. Okay, so see how we're doing that? You can set up labels, you know, at the beginning to say, okay, well, I got to take two doors out and I got to take one window out once I figure out what the area of the wall is. Okay, and then what we're doing is we're going to convert the English to math. Okay, there's a translation going on here. Okay, and so we say, well, what represents the wall? Well, the 13 feet by 10 feet represents the wall. Okay, and so that 13 feet by 10 feet is going to be 130 square feet. Okay, and what represents the doors? Well, 3 times 6 is 18, and 18 times 2 is 36. And then the window is going to be 7 by 2, so it's going to be 14 square feet. Okay. So now we figured out what the wall is. The wall is 130 square feet. The two doors is 36 square feet. And the one window is 14 square feet. But notice when I started the problem, I started it off with walls, subtract the doors, subtract the windows. So I started off with words. Then I translated the words to math. So I took out the words and I put in the numbers that represent those words. Okay. Now I do my math. I simply subtract. I go 130 minus 36 minus 14. And congratulations to everybody that came up with 80 square feet. Okay. So that's excellent. You guys did a great job. Okay. But, drawing pictures and using labels is always a good way of summarizing what needs to be done to solve the problem mathematically. Okay, but you guys did a super job on that problem. Okay, does anybody have any questions about what we did, how we did it? Well, the point 91 was given to us, Adam. Okay, when you go back to the directions, right above the problem, it tells you using the following information, find the surface area for the following. Please note, use either customary or metric, so you don't have to put both in. You can either use one or the other. Okay, so if you're not that sure about the meters, you can always just go in and put the feet in. You don't have to do both. And then it tells you right under where it's got underlined, surface area of the wall does not include the area of windows and doors. We can say the windows are 5 feet by 3 feet or 1.52 meters by 0.91 meters. Then it says the door is 7 feet by 3 feet or 2.13 meters by 0.91 meters. Okay, so that's where that information, it came right up out of the directions. Yeah, that's correct. You can use feet or meters. Don't do both. Okay, and if you're using feet, it's going to be square feet. And if you're using meters, it's going to be square meters. Yep, that's correct, Joe. 4-2 raised to the second power is the same as SQFT. Okay, so that's that part. Now we got the budget analysis stuff. Okay, now the first question says, what percentage of the recording expenses is the mastering? Okay, well that the budget is going to be right in that document that we pulled. So we'll go to that document. Where is it at? I had it a second ago down here. No, it's gone. Okay, so I got that part. I need the other part of it. All right, let me go right here. Let me go into the what I pulled out. Okay, so I'm gonna go here, and then it gives me a music budget sheet. Okay, so that budget sheet is in the zip drive, right along with everything else. Okay, so when I look at the question, it says, what percentage of the recording expenses is the mastering? Okay, so I'm looking at mastering, which is right here. No fair. And then I'm looking for the recording, which is the total here. Okay. Now let's say, for instance, if they ask me what percentage of the recording tapes is of the recording expenses. Let's say they asked me for the percentage for the recording tapes and not the mastering. Okay, so if they ask me for the percentage of the recording tapes, and now when they say percentage, what they mean is the percentage of the total is the recording tapes. So I'm going to take the recording tapes, which is 8,000. Okay, and I'll start it off this way. I'll say recording tapes over your total recording expenses. like that. Okay, so recording tapes is 8,000. And then the total is going to be 96,500. Yeah, we can leave the rest out. Okay, now I can convert that to a percent one or two ways. Okay, the quickest way of doing it is just to divide. So I'm going to take 96, 8, I'm going to take 8,000 and divide it by 96,500. And then that's going to give me 8.08. All right, so I got 0.0829. Okay, now that has a decimal. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that decimal 2 places to the right. Well, you got to show your work. Let me pull up the worksheet. Yeah, you have to show your work everywhere. Okay, even in here you can show your work. Like right here you can go, uh, let's say 14 times 12, like that. And then I'm going to minus 5 by 3. I'm not saying this is the way to do it, but I'm going to go 5 minus 3 here. 5 times 3 here, like that. And then that would equal whatever I'm looking for. I'll just make it up 189 square feet, like that. Okay, so yeah, I could do it like that. Or you can, let's see if you box out. Yeah, there we go, like that. So you can show your work like that. Okay. And you can do the same thing up top here. If you got 18 feet here, you're going to multiply by 1.24, like that. And then that would equal whatever it is. Let's say it equal like 20.20 feet. Or you could just do the feet like this and 6 inches. Okay, so you could do that. But you got your work in there. You can see it. Yeah, no, because when you go back and look at the rubrics, and we'll pull up the rubrics one more time. Okay, when you look at the rubrics, somewhere in here, when you pull up the rubric, on the dimension changes, see it says 2 points for each calculation correct, and then 1 point for correct proper formatting. And then the next one says 1 point for each correct calculation, and 1 point. Well, for those, I take that back. It's not, all you got to do is just show your calculations and the formatting, which is the proper unit, meters, square meters, that kind of thing. So you're not actually having to show any steps. It's not giving points for steps. Okay, in the last section, it's giving points for steps. In section 2, it's only giving points for correct calculations. That is to say the number is correct, and giving points for the correct format. That's saying that you got either feet or meters there. Okay, so yeah, you don't have to show the steps for 2 or 3 because it's not giving you any points for that. The only place where it's giving points is it's giving points where it's saying show your work is in section 4. Okay. Okay, so that's the rubric. All right, so we got 0.829. Now, to take that 0.829, because we took 8,000 and we divided it by 96,500. Okay, and you put it in that order. You go 8,000, divide 96,500. So you press the calculator in the same order that the numbers are in. Now, when we get that, we're going to convert that. So we're going to move the decimal 2 places to the right. That's going to give us 8.29%. And that'll be our final answer. We simply took the decimal, moved it 2 places to the right, write a percent sign on the end of it. And so that's going to be 8.29%. Um, well, let's look at the directions and see what the directions say on it. I don't know if the directions require you to round it. If it doesn't say round it, you shouldn't be rounding it. Okay, but it'll tell you one way or the other. It'll say round it. Let's see. No, it doesn't say round. If it doesn't say round, you need to give an actual number. Yeah, it doesn't say round. So when it doesn't say round, you give the actual number. Because then at that point it becomes, well, what place value do you round to? Do you round to the nearest whole number? Do you round to the nearest tenth? Do you round to the nearest hundredth? So in that case, you don't. Okay, so that's how you convert that to a percent. Now let's say we're going to take that same problem, and they say they wanted it converted to the nearest fraction. Okay, so the first part said convert it to the nearest percent. Let's say convert it, find the percent. Find the percent. That's what it said. Then the next problem is going to say find the fraction. Find the fraction. Okay, we're still going to use the same formula. If they gave us the recording tape, what fraction of recording tape is of the total recording expenses. And we're making up one because I can't do the one that you guys are actually required to do. So we're going to take 8,000, 96,500, and then to solve this, we're going to divide the 8,000 by 100. And then we're going to take the 96,500, divide it by 100. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. So 8,000 divided by 100 is going to give us 80. And 9,000, in this case, 500 like that, it's going to give us 965. Okay, so we took 100 there, took 100 there. Now both of these, we're still not finished because these numbers end in 0 and 5, so they can both be divided by 5. So we're going to take 80 divided by 5, and then we're going to take 965 and divide it by 5. And so 80 divided by 5 is going to give us 16. And let me bring it down to the next line. And then 965, 5 will go into 9 one time. Okay, that'll leave us with 46. 5 will go into 46 9 times. That'll leave us with 45. Bring down to 1, 15, 3. All right, so there we go. So that's going to be our final answer right there. 16 over 193. Okay, now we started off with 100 and then divided by 5. Okay, we could just say that the greatest common factor is 500. And so we could divide 8,000 by 500. That's going to be 16. And then we could take 96,500 and divide it by 500. And then that will give us 193. So we could do it that way as well. We could find the greatest common factor, which is 500, and divide the top and bottom both by 500 and come up with the fraction that way. No, we don't always divide it by 100. We only divide by numbers that we can divide the top and bottom by. Okay, so if we couldn't divide the bottom by 100, we wouldn't be doing it. Okay, so that's the only reason why we're doing it. We're trying to find a number that we can divide both the top and bottom by. Okay, we could, of course, started off with dividing the top and bottom by 500, and we would have just ended up with 16 over 193 to begin with. Okay. Anytime you're converting it to a fraction, putting it in fraction form is going to be easy. You're just going to take the numbers, put one number as a numerator, the other number as a denominator. But the simplifying it part, reducing it down to its lowest form, is going to require some work. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so they're giving us an off problem for the next one. They're saying if the actual album artwork costs 4,200, what percentage would that be off the budgeted amount? Okay, so let's go and look at an amount. We were working with the 8,000, right, for the recording. Okay, that's the budgeted amount, 8,000. Let's say that the actual amount for it was 7,000, and then they would want to know what percentage off it was. So let's say we had a budgeted amount of 8,000, but it only actually cost 7,500. Okay, so and we're working still with that recording tape. Okay, I don't think I can go back. It's in the recording, so I mean you can go back and look at it in the recording because I'm working with like a Word document. Once I get rid of it, it's kind of gone. But you'll get a copy of the recording, so you can go back and look at it in the recording. Okay, so or if you're talking about the budget here, I can go back and look at that. So if you're talking about the budget here, I can pull that back up for you. Okay, so with the budget, so we're taking 8,000 for the budgeted cost. And once again, we're trying to simulate the problems that we actually are getting without actually doing those problems. And the actual cost is 7,500. So they want to know what percentage off, what kind of discount we're getting. Okay, so to figure out that discount, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to figure out the actual amount off. To figure out the discount off, we got to figure out the discount amount. So we're going to say, okay, it costs $8,000 budgeted, and we only spent 7,500. So we got 500 bucks off. Now, that percentage off is going to be the 500 divided by the 8,000. Okay, so we've got figuring out the amount off was going to be, the actual amount of money that got taken off. It went from 8,000 to 7,500. So $500 got taken off. And then from there, to figure out the percentage, we took the 500 and divided it by 8,000. Because that's going to give us the percentage. So we're going to take 500 divided by 8,000 to figure out what percentage we got off. So it's going to be 0.0625 as a decimal. And then to convert that to a percent, we'll move the decimal 2 places to the right. And we'll end up with 6.25%. Okay, so that's what we got off. We got off 6.25%. Now the amount we got taken off was $500, but the percentage was 6.25%. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about that off problem? Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys one of those. Let's say a shirt costs $35, and you get and you're given a $5 discount. what is the percent? What is the percent taken off of the shirt? Okay, so here, let's see if you guys can do this one. Okay, so you're given a $5 discount and the shirt costs $35. What is your discount percent? Yeah, earlier we just wouldn't round it. Okay, we wouldn't round because these problems are not asking us to round. So we need to come up with actual numbers. Okay, you don't want to round unless you're being told to round. And then if we tell you to round, we're going to tell you what place value to round to so that everybody will come up with the same answer. So you're not having like 15 different answers depending on what number or place value people are rounding to. Right, that's correct. Okay, so we have a problem here. Okay, you got a $5 discount. Now we want to know the discount percentage. Okay, so we got 14%, 14.28%. Okay. Now in this problem, we're going to look at this problem. This problem, they're actually giving us the discount amount. We don't have to figure that out. Okay, so we don't have to do any subtracting because they didn't give us they didn't give us a number. Like they didn't say, well, the shirt cost $25. You paid 25 for it. So now you got to subtract to figure out what was the discount amount. And this problem, we're actually being given the discount amount. The discount amount is actually $5. Okay, so we're going to take that discount amount and divide it by the total amount to find the discount percent. So we got 5 divided by 35, and we'll throw that into our trusted calculator. 5 divided by 35. And so that's going to give us 14.2. Well, let me just put it in decimal form for 0.1428285757.1. Now this is actually going to repeat. Actually, it's repeating at the 7. So that whole thing right there is going to have a repeating bar over it. I don't know if I can put it over. Let's see. I don't see anything that allow me to put a strike over it. Double underline. I see a bunch of underlines, but that's going to have a repeating bar over it. So we'll end up moving it, and that's going to be 14.2857%. Okay, and that's supposed to have a repeating bar over it because it's repeating. Okay, so you can just leave it at 14.2857%. Okay. All right, let's look at another one. No, you don't have to put the bar over it. One, because we don't have anywhere to put it. But no, you don't have to. Now, if you would convert it to a decimal, you could leave the bar, but not there. Okay. All right. So let's see what the other one says. if there's a 32% discount on the budgeted transportation cost, what is the actual? Okay, so that's a lot similar to what we just did. So that type of problem is like, okay, if a shirt costs $48 and you received a 12% discount, what is the actual cost? Okay, so if a shirt costs $48 and you receive a 12% discount, what is the actual cost? Okay, so now to figure out that cost, okay, we can do it one or two ways. The first way we can do it is we can take the actual cost of 48 and we can subtract the 48 times the 0.12%. So that's one way we can do it. We can figure out what the discount is and then subtract it. Okay, another way we could do it is we can take 48 minus, we can take 1 minus 0.12. And I think that's a multiply there. And do it that way. Okay. Okay, so in the first way, we're going to say 48 times 0.12. It's going to give us 576. So now we got 48 minus 576. And then the second way we can do it is 48 times 0.88. And then that'll give us 42.24. And then if we take 48 on the top minus the 576, we come up with the same 42.24. Okay, so either way we come up with the same answer. Okay, notice in both problems there's always subtraction involved. Okay, and this problem is a lot like that decreasing problem where we had to decrease by 1/3, and so instead of decreasing by 1/3, we multiply by 2/3. Okay, so you could do it the same way. Okay, but I mean, a good place to start with it is you can start with cost minus discount equals actual cost. Okay, so you got the sales price, subtract the discount, and that gives you the actual cost. Okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the numbers around a little bit. I'm gonna give you some different numbers. Okay, so I'm gonna give you $70, and you're gonna have a 15% discount. Okay, so I want you guys to tell me what the actual cost is. Okay. All right, so let's look at it. So we got 70 bucks. Now we can multiply that by 85%. Does anybody know why we're going to multiply it by 85%? Right, that's correct. 1 minus 15 will give us 85%. Okay, out of the total, the actual cost is 85% and 15% is the discount. So if you take the actual cost and the discount and add them together, it gives you 100%. Okay, so we got 100% for the total cost and then 15% for the discount. So 100% minus 15 gives us 85% left for the actual cost. Okay, and so when we do that, then that's how we come up with the 59.50. Okay, so that's how we come up with the 59.50. Okay, 15% is discount. Okay, we got, and the way it works is we've got total cost is 100%. Discount is 15%. And then that equals, so you take the total cost minus the discount, that equals your actual cost, which becomes 85%. So you're going to get 85% of that $70 to pay. Okay, so that's the way it works. Okay, and that's just like, 14 feet decreased by 1/3. Okay, so we ended up going 14 times 2/3. Okay, and how that came about was we simply took 1 minus 1/3, which equaled 2/3. Okay, so that's how that all shook out. Okay, well, we're wrapping it up now. Okay, so we're going to say we're still working with the recording tape of 8,000. If that increased by 35%. Okay, so we've got the 8,000. So the recording tape increased by 35%. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our 8,000 and then we're going to multiply it by 1.35. And that's just like the increase of 24%. Except instead of increasing by 24%, it's increasing by 35%. So we're going to take 8,000 and multiply it by 1,000, multiply by 1.35. And that'll tell us what our cost is, because it increased. Now, remember, everything that we're providing you with is a budget. A budget is something that you expect the cost to be. Okay, you can budget for something. You can budget, for a car payment of $300. Doesn't mean somebody's going to sell it to you for that amount. Okay, so we're going to take 8,000 and multiply it by 1.35. And then that's going to give us 10,800. Okay, so that's the new cost. Now, what if they wanted to know what the increase was? Okay, the increase is not the percentage. If they wanted to know what the increase was, we could do that one or two ways. We could take 10,800, subtract 8,000 from it to see how much it really did go up. And that went up 2,800. Or what we could do is we could take 8,000 and multiply it by 0.35. And then that would give us the actual increased amount. And then that would be 2,800 as well. Okay, so there's two different ways we could find the increased amount. which is different than the actual price it went up. Because if you take the 8,000 and you add the 2,800 to it, that gives you the actual price it went up. Alrighty, so that in a nutshell is the assignment one. Okay, we covered every aspect of the assignment, what you could expect to see on the assignment, every type of problem. Okay, if you're looking at something you're not quite sure what it should be, you can always go back and look at the recording. Okay, I'm gonna probably take a dinner break, and then I'm going to, after the system finish uploading the recording, then I'm gonna go ahead and send it out to everybody. Okay, before we call it a day, does anybody have any questions for me? Yes, that's correct, Miguel. You only have to do one, the music or the movie. And you only have to fill in one Excel document. You'll upload it. There's a media file inside under the assignment itself. You'll upload it there. Yes, there will be an archive. And actually, I'm going to send it out. You should get it in the email. Okay. Um, if it's too big to archive, then what will happen is I'll put it on YouTube and send you the link that way.